I'm Rennie Curran, keynote speaker, leadership coach, author, and former All-American linebacker from the University of Georgia. I had the honor of being coached by Mark Richt. Coach Richt was like a second father to me. He helped teach me the value of hard work, integrity, and always finishing the drill. He also planted a seed in my life to live every day in service to others. Recently, I caught up with some of my friends and former players who also played for Coach Richt. Let's see what they had to say about the influence that Coach Richt had on their lives.
I had the pleasure of playing for Coach Richt his first 2 years at Georgia, and let me say it was life-changing. To play for a man, be around someone who everything he did with character and class. Everything he did, he exemplified integrity, and most importantly, he led a life that was led by conviction.
I had the luxury of being coached by Mark Richt, one of the most incredible men I've ever met. Coach Richt taught me how to care about people beyond the bounds of a rectangle.
I'm not perfect, certainly not perfect. Every time I've fallen, anytime I have not lived up to the expectations I've put on myself, my family puts on me, I think of the things that Coach Richt said to me when I thought about transferring one day. And that was, Arthur, I love you. And I treat you like I treat my own son. I just want what's best for you. And I can say with sincerity that there's not many football coaches today or back then that mean that when they say that.
Learning how to face adversity and finishing the drill obviously were things that were instilled in us. But the thing that Coach Richt probably doesn't even know that he instilled in me, myself, and probably so many before me is just the powerful, positive presence that he was then and is now on the field and off the field.
He always found time if something was bothering someone and someone needed to talk. Coach Richt always took the time for that. He always took the time for his family. One thing you'll notice about him that you don't notice about other coaches is that his family was around as much as they could be. And I learned a lot of that when it comes to work-life balance now. I've taken some of those lessons and make sure I incorporate it into who I am now.
I was very fortunate enough to be coached by Coach Mark Richt for 4 years. It was one of the main reasons why I committed to Georgia was Coach Richt, because my parents, myself knew at the end of the day that I was going to become a better football player. I knew that I could pick 100 different schools and I would become a better football player. But Coach Richt, we knew I was going to become a better man, and he was going to teach me how to be, get ready for the real world when it comes to being a husband, a father, business leader, whatever it is. He's going to take care of you, and just a lot of trust. So I love you, Coach Richt. Congratulations on all the success. You deserve it. You're the man. We all love you, and best of luck going forward.
Coach Richt, welcome back to Personal Professional Best, Part 2.
I'm glad to be here. Let's keep it going.
Our program challenges all of us to have very specific goals in 6 areas of life: in family and relationships, in health and fitness, in personal finance, in fun and recreation. So you can have fun as a Christian.
Right.
You just have to have boundaries, right? Faith and/or community service, and finally business. My goal in the last 2 years in my family relationships, one of them has been not to be mad at my wife, Lisa, the entire year.
Well, it's okay to get mad. You just can't stay mad.
Mostly people answer the question with, how's that working for you? It's working good, but the point is, I was listening to what you were talking about with the way that you were drawing, and our anger usually is based on the idea that our rubber band in life, just the things that are going on in our life, get stretched a bit, and then the people that are closest to us oftentimes wind up getting the snap because we're all human and wired human. How did it change your coaching?
Well, I think everybody makes decisions based on their belief system. I mean, bottom line. Why do people decide this, that, or the other? It's because of what they believe in their heart.
Yeah.
Well, when I became a born-again believer in Jesus Christ, I also believe that, God's word is our guide. And, so my goal after becoming a Christian became very simple. And that was to try to live a life that was pleasing to God. And it wasn't necessarily easy, but it was simple. The goal was the same. It didn't change. And so when I made decisions, if I had time to think about it, I would put it to prayer, and I would try to get to the point where I had peace about a decision. And then I'd make the decision based on that. Now you still got the litmus test, and you got to put your head on the pillow at night, because sometimes you make a decision and you start living it out, and you're like, you know what, that was not a good decision. So if I felt like I made a mistake, I'd wake up the next day, and if I could change it, I'd change it. I'd say, you know what, I said we're going to do this, but I don't think it's right. And so sometimes you got to have some humility to admit you made a bad one. And if you made one that can't change, a bad one that can't change, you own it and you apologize. And then if you have to make a decision quick, hopefully for me, I'm prayed up and I'm in the right frame of mind, right spiritual frame of mind to make a decision again that would please God with what I did. So my life became super simple in the pursuit of trying to please God with what I did. Like I said, it wasn't necessarily easy, because life's not easy. But my goal stayed the same, and it was it's been my guiding light all the way through my career.
Well, it's blessed you, that's for sure. I mean, if you think about it, whether it's Coach Bowden or you, Coach Rick, and in my space, mostly the world, absent God guiding us, it's only about profit. It's only about championships or about winning. And what happened for me is the paradigm shifted, where it became not about me anymore, and about what I could get, but it became about what I could give and how I could influence and bear influence on the lives of other people that I was responsible for. And I know, Coach Bowden, I know you've done exactly the same thing.
Well, I think, just going back just a second, when it comes to making decisions, sometimes we're thinking about who we're going to please with this decision. When you start thinking about, well, the AD might like this, but the player won't, or the parent might like it, but the media won't, so you're trying to sit here and in other words, don't base your decision on trying to please some person, some faction. Make the right decision because it's the right decision. Make the best decision because it's the best decision. And then be willing to live with the consequences.
Right,
and so, again, if the goal is to please God with what you're doing, then the types of decisions you're going to make are going to be the right ones.
So you make the decision, Coach Bowden affects you such that you do really what the seed that was planted in your life ultimately was destined to do. Coach Bowden becomes that party along the way that helps you. Had that not happened, do you think you get to be coach at the University of Georgia?
It's hard to say. I mean, my life would be different, so probably not. I may have still coached. I may have still had success. I don't know. But between that decision and the two you mentioned, and then the decision to marry Catherine, she was rock solid. When I was struggling, when I was afraid, when I was not certain, when I was, just not maybe totally equipped to handle a certain responsibility, she was there to believe in me.
Wow.
And I mean, it was huge, the relationship that we had. And like, if I was her, I'd have said, stop acting like a baby and get your butt up and go to, but she was patient with me, and thankfully she was, because there were some tough times where, I mean, when I first became offensive coordinator at East Carolina University at age 28,
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not ready, man. I mean, but God let me learn how to be a coordinator in obscurity, and not many people were watching East Carolina football at the time. But I mean, I literally went to bed and would just sweat. I would soak my bed with sweat. I was so nervous about the next day and could we actually get everything done. And then by 11 o'clock in the morning, everything was done. Just that imagined fear is real fear. But, you know, when my faith grew stronger than my fear, then I had peace.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what we do know is true is that you may indeed have gotten the job at the University of Georgia, and you may indeed have written the book, Make the Call, but the book would have finished differently for sure, right? And we'll get to that. And I think what else would have been different is the many, 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 many young men that you were responsible for at the University of Georgia and what you deposited into their life. Because I've talked to a number of them, because I know a number of them. And I know what it meant for them to be able to tell their story now about not Coach Bowden in their life, but Coach Richt in their life.
Well, here's the deal. You're recruiting half your team, maybe more. It's from single parent homes, mostly moms, you know, trying to raise their boys. And I can't tell you how many moms came to me and said, Coach, I could teach my son a lot of things, but I can't teach him how to be a man. Would you do that for me? So
what a blessing.
I mean, that meant a lot to me. And when you say that, I'll do that, you know, that's what I try to do. And a lot of people said, Coach worries too much about these kids and didn't worry enough about winning. But, you know, I think that's foolishness to say, because, you know, my philosophy was if you build a better man, then you're going to have a better team.
Absolutely.
And if all we do is teach them blocking and tackling and throwing and catching, we've really done them a disservice. The college age player is going from boyhood to manhood. And if they're not ready for manhood when they leave your doors, you blew it, in my opinion.
Well, let's face it, you know, we're sitting in a locker room with some of the best players in America, and not many of them will make their living playing in the NFL. So making their living doing something else in their life, what you get to do when you're coaching them, and I do the same in my industry, which is that I get to shape the way they think about their marriages and about their being parents and about how they're going to take care of their responsibilities and how they're going to give back in the community, all of those things. Or I just tell them it's about making more mortgages or about winning more football games. And we know leadership calls us, done right, leadership calls us to do much better than that.
Well, and I'll say this. I think in the end, when we meet our maker, you know, I don't think he's going to ask me how many championships he won. He's going to say, what did you do with those men that I put under your authority? And hopefully he'll say, good job.
Yeah, I tell people the same thing. I don't think they're going to say, wow, you know, you made 350,000 mortgages in your career. We've been waiting to meet you. I don't think it goes that way. Tell us about the first day. You told us about Coach Dooley's recruiting prowess, right? Stopping up there on the street and letting you see the whole.
I think he had the lights turned on.
But tell us about the first day. Like, you're brand new here for the first time. Tell us about that day when you first started coaching.
I can't think of the first day, but I can remember being, you know, when you first get a job and you start hiring other coaches, then we all end up in a hotel somewhere in town, and we know how to get to work. We know how to get back to the hotel. We're just grinding away. We're working. Our wives are back at home, you know, taking kids to school and trying to get a house ready to sell and all the things that happen. And so, you know, I can remember being in that hotel room, and I left I was at a basketball game with recruits or something like that, and had some guy come up to me and say, hey, Coach, this recruiting ain't going really good. And he goes, if my buddy told me to tell you, if you don't pick it up, we're going to start buying your players. I said, oh, really? I said, well, you tell your buddy, if you start doing that, you're going to kill the thing that you think you love.
Wow, I love it.
You know, but I go back to the hotel room and I'm like, what'd I get myself into? So I'm literally laying on the ground in the carpet. I'm like crying out to God, saying, you know, God, why'd you do this to me? And I need help. And so anyway, I mean, literally, I might have bailed right there if I could have, but you just got done hiring. You hire 9 guys to come with you, and they're in the process of doing.
So the door's closed.
It's
There's
too
no
late.
way out. Right? Exactly.
It's too late. You can't get out. So, but as I'm crying out to God, something in my spirit said, "I will certainly be with you." Just like He told Moses when He asked Moses to lead His people out of Egypt, and Moses is like, "God, who am I? Who am I to do this?"
Can't even speak real good.
That's right. And then God said, "I will certainly be with you." And that's
how you felt.
God said to my spirit that night, and it changed everything.
So you coached at UGA for 15 years, had a tremendous amount of success. The second winningest coach in UGA history, only to Vince Dooley, who I know you're so fond of, and so am I. Football. What are some of the best calls during your time? It's in your book. What are some of the best calls you made?
Oh gosh, there were so many good and bad ones. You make so many calls.
Let's start with the good ones.
Well, if we want to talk about one of the greatest memories I have, and had to do with some of the calls that were made that day, was year one. We're first year head coach, first year as a staff together. We're trying to prove that we belong. We put them through a very rigid and grueling off-season conditioning program we called MAT drills. And a big part of those drills was to learn how to finish. Every drill had a finish line, so we would always say to finish the drill. And what finish the drill meant was don't quit, no matter what. No matter how you feel, you got to finish as strong as you started. Everybody can start strong, but then when fatigue sets in and doubt sets in, we fall by the wayside. So we're trying to teach them how to finish through adversity and do it together. One guy blows it, everybody's got to come back and do it again. It might be 10 guys in a drill. So everybody had to rely on each other. So that was kind of a background of how we tried to train them in the off season to build team, to build toughness, to build, the things that you need to succeed. So we're playing Tennessee, at Tennessee, first away game, an SEC game for us. And it's late in the game. We get an interception. We got the lead. We got the ball. We're going to win the game. Well, we run the ball 3 times to get one more first down. We don't get a first down. They call timeout 3 times in a row. They get the ball back with 1:20, or I don't know what it was. Not much time. After we punted to them, they're backed up about 15-yard line, whatever it was. They throw a 87-yard screen pass for a touchdown with less than a minute to go. And the fans went nuts. There's 108,000 people, and the ground was shaking. And, I wear a headset that has 2 earpieces. And so that kind of keeps the noise out of your head. But the noise was so loud, it went through my mouthpiece into my ears, and we couldn't hear a thing. And so, it looked like all was lost. And but we get the ball back, we drive the field. David Green's the quarterback, hitting Randy McMichael a couple big shots, and get the ball like around the 8-yard line, and 1 timeout left with like 8 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was. And so we called timeout. And I talked to Dave, I get David on the sideline. I said, look, we're going to run pass 44 Haynes, P44 Haynes, okay? We're in a 3 receiver set. We're in the I formation. Haynes was Veron Haynes, the fullback. And the P, or the play pass, meant to fake the run, which was an isolation run with the fullback leading. We're going to fake that. And then the fullback was hopefully going to get like he's about to block that linebacker and slip by him in the back end of the end zone. So I got David on the sideline. I said, look, we got 8 seconds to go. We're running P44 Haynes. If they play a split safety defense, if they play 2 safeties, all right, which they love to do, then this is going to be wide open. Just don't miss it. I said, if they play a 1 high look, then we'll throw the ball out of the back of the end zone and have 1 more play. Well, they line up in a split safety defense, and I'm on the sideline. You could see it on TV, and I'm like, we got it. And then they snapped the ball. And Veron was wide open. We hit him over the middle. And that's where, Larry Munson's call, the hobnail boot, and all that kind of stuff became legendary. But anyway, so we win the game. We're in the locker room. Everybody's cheering and acting silly and all the things you do after a big win. And so I finally settle him down, and I say, I just try to explain what happened, about how great it was. And then one of the guys stood up, he said, "Hey, Coach, we finished the drill." I said, "That's right.
I love it.
We finished the drill."
I love it.
Well, that same Veron Haynes, who caught the ball when we finished the drill that day, as I'm writing my book, I'm talking, Veron calls me out of the blue. He said, "Hey, Coach, I just want to tell you something. My daughter is in dance class, and she hates it, and she wants to quit." And I told her, "Honey,
finish a drill."
I said, "Honey, the Haynes family, we finished the drill."
I love it. I love it.
And then he calls me up about a month after that. He goes, "Coach, I went back, got my degree, and my kids were with me." And he goes, "My son looked at me and said, 'Hey, Dad,
you
finished the drill.'"
I love it.
So finish the drill just means don't quit, no matter how tough things get.
Well, the idea that he's calling you that many years later and telling you how it influenced his daughter now and his son now, his whole family.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
That's the hallmark of a great leader and a great coach. So I was sitting here listening to you as a fan. Most fans don't really remember the great calls because they just are, well, it's like life, right? They take those for granted. Right. That should have happened.
Yeah.
Tell us one or two of the calls that you made that you wish you could take back, like things you're like, oh my goodness.
Well, I'll go back to year one again, and some people will remember it, but we're playing Auburn at home, and it's a close ball game. Late in the game, we're driving the field again. We're down more than a field goal, down 4, whatever it was, down 5. And we had a situation where if we got a big play inside the 2-yard line or whatever, then we're going to immediately run our big personnel in the game, big 3 tight end set and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to get an unbalanced set, which not everybody understands what I'm saying, but it's a set that's tough to adjust to defensively for your opponent. And we were going to hammer 34 wham, where Fred Munsmeyer scored all those touchdowns. And we're going to do it like that. Well, today, if an offensive team makes a substitution,
they get the
defense gets time to sub. Back then, they didn't have that rule. So if Florida State went on the coordinator, we would do stuff like that all the time, and we'd get them with 13 men on the field. They're trying to change personnel. They can't get lined up. We just walk in the end zone. Well, the SEC officials decided that day that they weren't going to let this young, up-and-coming head coach from the ACC
bring his ACC stuff.
Yes. So they stopped the game. And they're like standing over the ball, waiting for them to sub, waiting for them to get adjusted. And then when everything was all nice and settled and everybody was ready to play ball, the referee moved off the ball, and we hammer it, and we don't make it. Well, there was enough time for 2 plays. Okay, so if I'd have called a pass play and then run that play, I'd at least have 2 shots. At least give us one more chance. All right, but I went with the play that we had designed to run in that situation. It got stuffed, and then we ran out of time. We couldn't get lined up to run another play. All right, so I'm feeling like I let the team down, although I wish the refs would have let us snap the ball, but that's water under the bridge, I think. I'm maybe not quite over that yet, but so anyway, what are you going to do now? You go in there and blast everybody in the locker room, or are you going to own it? I just said, hey, man, I could have called a different play to give us at least 2 shots down there instead of 1. We might not have won, but at least we'd had one more shot. And so, I think I won over the kids to a certain degree. I know some of my staff members came back years later and said, Coach, when you kind of own that, it made me feel like I was in the right place.
Well, past football, it's the same thing in life, right? We're all going to make calls.
Right.
And sometimes we'll make really good calls, and sometimes we won't. And when we don't make the best call, owning it is kind of, for other people, a great way to, and for us to be able to learn something from it.
Well, it's okay to make mistakes. We're all going to make them. And when you act like you don't ever make a mistake, not many people want to follow that.
But there's people that are college football fans that sit on couches all around America, they don't ever make a mistake with their calls.
That's right.
They're making the calls every single Saturday, and they're telling coaches like yourself and other coaches what they should be doing. And if I were him, I'd be doing this.
Yeah, the hindsight is 20/20, or as one of my close friends says, hindsight's 50/50. I said, no, I think it's 20/20. But anyway.
So let's talk about adversity. Adversity is this thing that no one gets on their knees and would pray for something not so good to happen in their life. And I've always thought that there are two types of adversity. There's unwise choices, bad calls we make in life that cause consequences in our life. And the best people I've met, they just make very few of those. They stay, their rudder keeps them. Yours is your faith and so is mine. And others, they have their values and they just stay the course, so they make very few bad calls. But the other adversity is things just sometimes happen to us in life that we didn't cause to happen, that aren't so good, that we would, let's just say, never pray for. But what I've found is in my journey, when I talk to folks like yourself that are the very best, that have become the best at what they do, they learn how to manage and overcome adversity. How do you do it?
Right. Well, first of all, you can't act like, why me? Because why not me? It's just like, I've got Parkinson's. Well, there may have been some things I did along the way from health perspective that triggered something in my body that had Parkinson's come to life. I don't know how that all works. They say genetics is part of it, but lifestyle can affect whether you get it or not as well. So I'm not gonna say I didn't cause it, but bottom line is I've got it. And so what am I gonna do with it? I mean, the worst thing you could do is roll up in a ball and feel sorry for yourself. And because you need to exercise, you need to get rid of the toxins in your body. You need to sleep well. You need to have a positive attitude. I mean, all these things give you a chance to protect the dopamine that's left in your body, because that's what you lose when you get Parkinson's. By the time you have motor symptoms, movement symptoms of Parkinson's, you've probably had it 5 to 10 years. And probably 80% of your dopamine in your body's gone. So you got to protect what's left, So you can't just sit there and cry about it. But the bottom line is this: if all I had to look forward to was eventually maybe becoming a prisoner in my body and all this type of thing that Parkinson's could bring, that's not a very good thing to hope for. But when I know I have this eternal destiny of getting this glorified body once I go to heaven, and a body with no sin and a body with no disease, to match the spirit and soul that I became when I chose Christ. I mean, when we become believers, our spirit and soul are made perfect in God's sight, and that'll never change.
Well, you know what I just heard is the adversity that showed up in your life, that you did not make a bad call, it just showed up. You've just given a blessing to so many people that are here. And I would just ask everybody here that's watching today, pray back for Coach as a way to show gratitude for the blessing, because everyone's going through something right now, some event in their life, whether it's with their marriage or with their children or with their career, something. And to the extent that you actually can accept those things that happen in life, there's a blessing in it for yourself often and for other people in life as well.
Well, it's just like when I put the tweet out to make it public, and I didn't make it public for people to feel sorry for me. I just got tired of answering the question, Coach, what's wrong with you? Can I help you? Does your back hurt? Is it, and I got tired of feeding people a bunch of junk, but in my tweet I said, I look at it as a momentary light affliction compared to the glory that I'm going to get down the road. So, the bottom line is, if you only have hope in things of this earth, it's going to let you down. It's going to be possibly a depressing thing. But if you know what's there beyond this life, and you know where you're going, just like when I had my heart attack and I thought everything shut down, I was about to be gone, and I'm feeling this sense of peace that I know where I'm going. I'm excited where I'm going, and so that's when you know your faith is real.
Awesome. All right, so after 15 years at UGA, UGA made a call to change coaches. How did you deal with that adversity?
Well, first of all, we all sign up for this thing called coaching. So, we know that's a possibility. We know it's a bottom line business, and people can make decisions based on a lot of different things. And the administration decided, that we weren't giving them enough. So, I truly, I go to the press conference, and I had a spirit of gratitude, of thankfulness for, 15 years at any program, especially
awesome.
in the Southeastern Conference. It's a pretty amazing thing, and got to raise my kids in this town, and there was just so many blessings that we had through the process. We were just thankful for what God had given us, and then we knew there was going to be another chapter to write, and so, I wasn't mad at anybody.
What about Catherine?
No, she was good. She's got this awesome spirit about her, and she was thankful too. We weren't glad we got fired, but we were thankful for what God had given us, and we were excited about what was coming.
That's
next.
Another great lesson for everyone here. When something like that takes place, if you can look backwards and just be appreciative for the blessings that have been in your life.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, God's just got another blessing waiting for you, right? And certainly you've been blessed that way. All right, so you're now an analyst, and I know you focus mostly on the ACC,
right,
that other conference.
Right.
But I also know that you follow football, and I know that Bulldog Nation is really wanting me to ask you a really important question.
Why am I wearing blue? I would never wear blue when I was in Georgia.
No.
Anyway, I know that's not the question.
Yeah, no, the question is this the year that the Bulldogs win the championship?
Win the championship again.
Again.
It was one.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying.
Yes, it's been a while.
It could very well be, obviously, a great defense. Offense started a little slow, but, played a pretty good defense in Clemson game one. So there's some questions. But since that time, they've been able to put points on the board. I think the schedule is, it's tough, but it could be tougher in the regular season. And it's hard to say what they're going to meet in the SEC championship game when they get there. I think they will. Will it be Alabama? I don't know. Could be Ole Miss.
Could be Ole Miss.
Ole Miss can score a bunch of points. So, the bottom line is, I think, obviously the key game more than likely will be the Florida game. And if they get by that one, they can get to the championship game. And if they do that, win one more and you're in,
And then you'll have to worry about people parking on your lawn.
That's right. That's right.
So I invited you because, yes, you're Coach Richt, formerly of UGA, but really because I've always admired you as a leader. I've been following you since the day I read the article in the Journal-Constitution about your background and about becoming the coach at the University of Georgia. And I just always admired the way you handled success and the way you handled everything else that goes along with being a coach at the level that you were. If you were going to give advice to the audience today, make the call.
Right.
One call so that people can live their very, very best life. What advice will you give them?
Well, for me, it's a no-brainer. Get right with God. We're only going to live so long. And then we're going to be, then there's forever. And I mentioned having a heart attack, and I'm laying on the operating table, and I was conscious because they're worried about my blood pressure going low, and that I'm a code, which is code for dying. And as I'm laying there, and I'm thinking it's over because everything went numb, everything went black, everything went quiet. And so I thought it was the end, And so, when you get to that point in life where you come to the end, we're all going to come to the end. There's only one question that's really important, and that's where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you going? And if you know where you're going and you know it's heaven, then it could give you peace and it could give you hope. When I first became a believer, it was about feeling that sense and that peace of God. That was so important to me because I had no peace. Then I had peace when I came to know Christ. But at the end of my life, it's more about hope. What's my hope in? Is my hope in what's going to happen on this earth or what's going to happen beyond that? And when you have your hope in Christ and you know where you're going for eternity, and it's a good place.
Yeah, if you make that call, it also affects while you're still here.
Absolutely.
It affects everything that we do with everybody that we do it with.
That's right.
We can pour into them in a far different way. We have so much more. I tell people all the time that I don't ever feel like I'm working because I feel like I'm serving every single day in every way that I actually do what I do. So it's not
I know
draining.
we're getting towards the end here, but that's why we had our players do community service. I wanted them to see what it felt like to help somebody that couldn't help them back.
Yep.
Because once you get that feeling, it changes.
There's no better feeling.
Because usually everybody's self-centered. What about me? What about mine? What about this? Then all of a sudden you start doing some things for other people and you see what it does to your spirit. It's a big deal.
All right, listen, I know you still work for the ACC channel, but you'll always be a Bulldog, so go Dogs.
Yes, sir.
What an honor it has been to sit down and invest time with Coach Mark Richt. He reminded us that our choices, our decisions, they define the trajectory of our lives. As we learned from Andy Stanley this time last year, better decisions, fewer regrets. Thank you, Coach Richt, for sharing your game plan for making the calls and decisions in life that matter the most. What a year it's been for the Personal and Professional Best program. From the wisdom you just heard from Coach Richt to Coach Nick Saban unpacking the process that wins championships. We've heard leadership advice from John Maxwell, relationship advice from Andy Stanley, inspiration from Dr. Ike Reichert and Dr. Kevin Elko, motivation from Olympic champion Gabby Douglas, and my favorite interview yet, Dr. Bernice King, guiding all of us to the greatest aspiration that we have as Americans, to truly be one nation under God. I know our guests this year have helped enrich my life. I hope and pray that they've enriched your life as well. We started this year with a mission to not just have a good year, but rather to build a championship season in 2021 at home, in the workplace, everywhere, with everyone. We're entering the final few moments of the fourth quarter of 2021. It's time for you to check your scoreboard. How are you doing on your journey to becoming a champion? Join us next month on December 16th as we unpack all the wisdom we've learned this year, take inventory of our progress, evaluate and see if we've reached our goals, and to see where we might have fallen short. Then we can rally together to start a new championship season in 2022. Best is waiting. Meet you there.